Woken up by dominance today. And dominance is the most popularly misconstrued concept in all of dog training. It's been cynically manipulated by ideologues, but also by pop cultural TV figures and TV personalities like Caesar Milan. You have to be the pack leader, the alpha, all that shit. Okay, it's real. It's the most important concept probably that you need to understand in relation to canines, and no one knows what it means. And I got woken up by it this morning, and I was furious, because I thought there was a dog fight going on. That's why I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, really almost in a panic. I'll tell you what happened in a second, but let me define dominance first. Dominance is first right to resources. That's what it means in ethology. And it's also right to discipline, which they go hand in hand, essentially, right? It's in wolves, and this is based upon David Mech's research, he said it himself. His work has been bastardized. Go look it up for yourself. Read all his papers and form your own judgment about what David Mech actually said. Because wolf ethology is the main thing that informs our understanding of dogs, because they're the same species. Okay? Their taxonomic classification is the exact same as wolves. They're subspecies of wolves, basically. And subspecies, taxonomically, it's inseparable from the parent species. Okay, so they're wolves. They're genetically identical to juvenile wolves. They can interbreed with them. They can cohabitate with them. And guess what? The only serious research, for the most part, there's been some research on feral dogs. There's one study it's from Romania that's always referenced by the positive only crowd and behaviorists to prove that dogs aren't a pack species. And it was one study doesn't disprove an entire theory. You need a body of evidence. It's ridiculous. You don't disprove something like that. There are probably methodological flaws with the study. There could be an anomalous population, lurking variables that affect the study, all kinds of stuff. That's why you don't take one study and say, now we know something different, and we can throw out all this research that came before it. So David Mech's research defined, in ethology in general, dominance is first right to limited resources and right to discipline. It tends to go hand in hand with group leadership in wolves. In fact, it's almost always the case that the breeding pair of wolves, they have monopoly rights over reproduction. They're the group leaders. And they tend almost always to be the most dominant. Okay? So leadership refers to something different. It means making all decisions for the group. Where to go, when to hunt, where to travel, territorial defense, all kinds of stuff, okay? So just like how you make all the decisions with your dog, in theory, that's how it should be, but often in practice it isn't. I mean, think about it. When the dog's way in front of you, who's making the decisions about travel? Or when the dog refuses to walk down the street, like Marvin, right? Who's making all the decisions about travel? Okay, so understood in the context of resources and right to discipline, this is what happened today. I was sleeping, and my girlfriend did me a favor. She let the dogs out, she cycled them, and she was going to feed them. So I wake up, and I thought there was a dog fight. Bananas, and there was a kennel moving. So I thought two dogs, she fucked up or something and just had, made a mistake, and now two dogs are rolling around and they're going up against the kennel. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is all I need. I come out, it's fucking Marvin. It's Marvin. She was about to feed him and drop the food in his kennel, right? And he started growling at her. He started mad dogging her. So she closed the kennel and then covered it and didn't give him the food. In which that needs to be confronted. You don't just ignore that, so she made a mistake. But anyway, so he went fucking nuts, baring his teeth, lunging at the kennel, going bananas. Right, that's something else, right? I mean, look, At minimum, that lines up perfectly with how dominance is defined in ethology. And yet it's denied. I mean, this is like a huge issue. And it drives me fucking nuts because it gets kids bit. It gets fucking children bit all the time. Because a dog that has a confusion of hierarchy may not challenge the adult, particularly the male, although he will, in the social unit. But guess who they will challenge, who they'll feel emboldened enough to challenge and view as a subordinate? The child. And kids get lit up. We send over 20,000 people a day to the fucking hospital for dog bites. Right? And you get idiots like Zach George on TV saying shit like, well, you know, dogs bites are actually very, very rare, and it's usually due to some neurological disorder. Right. Yeah, okay. You know, because Prozac really helped Marvin. You know, it made him worse. Since he's been off it, he's fucking calmer. You know, I can't stress this enough. It's a real issue, and people need to understand what it is. Because if you don't get it, and you don't know how to control resources, and how to provide leadership, then what's going to happen is the fucking dog is going to have a confusion of hierarchy, and you're going to get a dog that's a wankster who thinks he's a gangster. True dominance, a dominant aggressive personality type in canines is exceptionally rare. They're amazing. Dewey, when I got Dewey as a puppy, I didn't get him as a puppy actually. When I met him as the first time as a puppy, he was about, I want to say 10 weeks. It's this little teeny thing. And I picked him up, and my buddy was like, dude, be careful, don't get him close to your face. And he was like this, and he looked me dead in the eyes. Like he was Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. He was just like, I was like, Jesus. Look at him. He's crazy. We took him for a walk around the block, and, you know, we were just kind of strolling with him. And he was a baby, and he saw a little dog. He was a little bigger than the dog, but he was small at the time, maybe 15 pounds, and he reared up, he raised his head up like this, just like that. And you could tell by his body language, the other guy was a dog trainer too, he was thinking about lunging at the dog just for looking at him. That's a natural personality trait. Now, by the time I got him at like 5.5 months, he had some formative experiences that damaged him, so he's got some skittishness that wouldn't be there otherwise. But still, I see it with him when I see him around other male dogs that would potentially challenge him. He just, it's this thing. He'll go like this. He'll be like, you know, it's like looking out of the, he won't even give him his eyes. He's just like, Jesus, because it's such a contrast, because he's so stupid and happy-go-lucky. That's what makes him a great protection dog, actually, is that he can be a family dog in one context, but he's got an on-off switch. He's got a high prey drive, so that's rare. That is not normal. You don't see a genetic predisposition for dominance in most dogs. Most dogs are natural followers. They have been bred for millennia to be submissive toward human beings. Okay, but some dogs have throwback genetics, some dogs have been selectively bred for guarding, hunting, whatever, fighting, and they have more dominant characteristics and temperament. So that's rare, though. What I see all the time, not all the time, but with alarming frequency, are dogs that have this illusion of being at the top of the hierarchy. Okay? Dogs are social opportunists, so what they want the perks of being the CEO, but they don't want the responsibility. They cannot handle it. No dog can, but especially a weak dog, which Marvin is by nature a kind of a scaredy cat. But he's got some terrier and shih tzu, so he's like aloof and he's stubborn, and you know what I mean. So it's this mixture of different traits that are all informing what he's got going on, but like. Really, he's not used to being told no and to not being in a position where he gets whatever he wants whenever he wants. I mean, he'll like, I don't want to get too into what's going on with him in the home, but like, he feels he has right to discipline and ownership, full ownership over all the resources. And here's the thing, your dog doesn't own anything. If he thinks he does, he'll own you, you know? And most of the time this stems from, he's an extreme case, and it's look, people make these mistakes by accident. You know, I mean, you see codependency sometimes, but really, it's usually not on purpose. Okay, but dude, you got to realize, like, if you treat your dog like a human, they'll treat you like a dog. They're not like primates where they're like Machiavellian and they're ladder climbers. They are and they're not, but they do need leadership, and if they see a leadership vacuum, they will step in to fill the void, because first of all, they feel threatened by the lack of leadership, so if they need it, fuck it, I'll do it. But they also want those perks. They want shit. And the top dog, it's like they go out and kill an elk, he gets to eat the liver. That's his. You know, him and his wife, or the wife wolf, whatever. But it's the same thing, same species. But look, this stuff is real, okay? But it's been popularly misconstrued in a way that is honestly, it just disgusts me. And if you Google this shit, forget it. Google social dominance in animals, all right? And read a little bit, and what you'll get is sort of dry scientific analysis. You might get some snarkiness here and there, but mainly because dog people are starting to jump into the mix. Google social dominance in dogs and see what you find. Chaos and vitriol. And this stuff has very dry, specific scientific meanings, science-based, right? Because that's what behaviorists are, right? With their fucking 78 different forms of aggression or whatever it is. And yet, the dominance is not a salient feature of how canines relate to one another or to us. It doesn't inform their existence in any way, shape, or form. They form hierarchical social organizations. You need to be at the top of it. It doesn't mean you subjugate and dominate your dog. That's another fucking semantic trick they play. Like, you gotta just, like, spit in his face and rub his face and shit. You know, like, that's the implication they're giving. Autocrats dominate. No, what you do is you provide them with leadership and you provide them with discipline. You teach them to listen to you and respect you. Depending upon the dog, how you do that is always different. But they need leadership, and they cannot labor under the illusion that they are at the top of some hierarchy, because they're not. They can't do it on their own. I am so upset because I wrote a long email description of this topic to Marvin's owner last night. He's a really sweet guy, and they've been suffering together. And I see it. I just, in the process of just looking up Mech's articles and stuff, I just kept coming across bullshit by this just disgusting radical contingency of disturbed people. That's what behaviorists and purely positive people are, hiding behind pseudoscientific jargon. Which, by the way, behaviorism died in the fucking 60s. It's fucking ridiculous. Oh, operant conditioning. Even balance trainers do the same shit. They're so like, dude, it's like a minor tool. It's in behavioral science with human beings. It's been left out of academia for the most part. Doesn't mean operant conditioning, different form, classical conditioning. That's not real. But as a theory, as a model, behaviorism is dead, except in dog training, right? That's where all the trash goes. The pseudoscientific trash. It ends up there, gets recycled, and it has a zombie afterlife. But this stuff makes me so angry because you see these nasty sons of bitches. I mean, I know I'm angry and cynical, but this is why. These people, I mean, they like ruin people's lives, and I'll get into that in another video. They go after fucking trainers. They're nuts. And the big thing is dogs like this are suffering, and so are their owners, because no one understands dogs anymore. They don't get them. And this is why, because this is such a popularly misconstrued subject, and it's so important. So understand it. It's crucial. Otherwise, really, the ones who are most at risk if you have kids are your kids.